What's up, YouTube? I'm Grover coming back at you with another video. So I pulled the cam out of the wagon. Actually, the new cam is installed with timing chain and all on it. Now, if you watched the last video I made with the lifters, I had a couple guys who said that the cam would probably be wiped. And they were correct. Now, me, being an idiot, when I pulled the cam out, I really didn't care. I thought it was funny, because I'm not using it, any of it. I actually looked at the wrong lobe. Thought it was this lobe. I was like, it looks alright. Whatever, don't care. But a couple people like, the cam, thing should be wiped out. It's machine shop actually was one of them. Talks to my father, and my father relayed the message. His dad said that cam's probably wiped. Ed's a pretty smart guy, and he's 110% right. It is wiped. But that led me to look at it, because I was like, well, if he's saying it's wiped, probably is. Let me look again. So I looked at the lifter orientation in the block, and I said, yeah, I was looking at the wrong lobe. Went and looked at the cam. Sure enough, this is, what lobe is it? Let me see, right here. That's supposed to be the lift point in here. This is what it's really supposed to look like. So there's a pretty big difference there. There's a lot ground off of it. Now, I didn't measure this lobe specifically. I did measure the other ones, the good ones. I picked the best ones because I wanted to get the correct cam shaft specs for lift. It's a 370 lift cam, which is what came factory in a 1968 302. So that's junk, or I might turn it into something. So I'm doing the hydraulic roller conversion. Now, if you guys remember, I bought the rockers and the lifters, $150. They're 1/6 roller rockers. They didn't come with studs, but they did come with poly locks. They are these nice Crane 1/6 roller rockers, gold. So these are a good rocker, but they are 7/16 studs. Can't use those. Now, it's not a big deal. I'm not worried about that because the lifters to me are worth what I paid. I'll sell those and I'll get the 3/8 that I need for this. Now, hold that thought. So I'm going to get back to the cylinder head that's sitting next to me. So these are the lifters. As you can see, link bar. They got the ring right here. It wraps around. Some of these are cut right here. They don't have this. These are hydraulic roller. Solid is usually cut. Some of them are not, from what I know. The cylinder heads have to come off to put these in. So, it's not something I wanted to do. I wanted to leave the heads on it for a couple reasons. Wanted to show you guys what the engine would do with the factory heads on it. Now, some guys who might not know me might hop on this and say, well, we know it went 14s with the automatic, stick, probably go a good 13, maybe break into the 12s. I really think this would have went in 1180 at least, with these heads untouched, with the little crappy, even these rockers, with that Steeda cam that's in it, because that's what I put in it. I think it's the 19 cam was given to me. So with that Steeda cam, these heads, factory, I mean, they still got this bump in them right here. See if I can put a light. Let's see. Trying to find it. It's hard doing this backwards. So in here is actually a bump. In the exhaust. Kind of see it right here. The little hump. No reason for that to be there at all. Especially when you got a peanut port that my thumb takes most of the volume up in that runner. So, my point is, these heads like this were capable of going in the 11s. That's my theory. I did it with a set of E7s. These are a little bit better than the E7s due to the chamber size, because these have a smaller chamber. So this motor will have a little bit more compression. Now, I didn't CC the chamber, so I don't know what these are. But so far, from what I've looked up, all the numbers have matched. I measured the valves. Got a 178 intake valve, I believe it was, and a 1446 exhaust valve. So tiny valves, small chamber, push-in studs, press-in studs. Now, press-in studs are a problem when you start putting aftermarket camshafts in. It's another downfall to the head. They're heavy, small valve, small runners, press-in studs. The valve spring pocket needs to be machined for anything 500 lift and up from my research. And they don't have hardened seats. Now, since the heads had to come off, I don't have a choice. To leave them on. Now I could put these all back together. I pulled these apart because I wanted to measure the valves. And I'm also going to let my dad do them. But I could pop these back together, slap it together. But I cannot justify that little bump in this exhaust. Just no reason for that to be there at all. That's just killing the flow. This is like a J-port almost with what that bump would end up doing. It's going to cause a lot of turbulence. It's going to make the air going to try to redirect it down. And that's not where the air wants to be. So, my dad, I talked to him. He said he'll do them for me. I'm going to have at a minimum, if I can get away with using a set of springs that won't coil bind on this. It's going to be between the spring that I use and this pocket not being machined for the valve spring. Between the two, I'm really hoping I can get away without coil binding these springs. I might have to send these out and have them cut I really don't want to do that. Now, if I was going to really do these heads, because my dad's just going to do a cleanup. I'm going to show him what I want done, because I have an idea of how I want them. The bowl, he can do whatever he wants in there. My dad knows what to do. I'm not telling him anything he doesn't already know. But I kind of want these done quick. Not to say he's not fast at getting stuff done for how much time he puts in on it. But this is time consuming, guys. This isn't going to be just 8 hours. This is a lot of hours. It's going to be probably over 100 hours in these cutting. So the bulwark, he'll do his own thing. This runner, open it up. And then the exhaust, I want the roof raised on it. And that bump taken out. So that's all the stuff he would just do automatically. But he'd probably go a little bit further in on this and really make them work really good. But I want these done. I want them back, and I want to put them on the car. So this is just going to be like a mild port job that he's going to do to these. This isn't going to be like a max effort style cylinder head that he's doing. We have a guy's heads here. Those are max effort. These, they're just going to get the stuff fixed that needs to be fixed. They're not going to get blown out real big. I would like this runner opened up some. But mainly the exhaust is more important to me with this bump. This bump needs, I'm half tempted to take a drill and do it myself right now. That's how much it bothers me. This is worse than the E7. The E7 has like the thermactor bump in the roof. This is just, I don't even know what this is for. I want to say it's for the exhaust bolt, but I can't even say it's for the exhaust bolt because it's literally above the bolt. The bolt hole's here and the bump is like here. In correlation, they're like almost next to each other if you're looking at the bolt hole and this bump. And you might be saying, well, why are you so worried about that bump? That's not that big. It's the size of my pinky. And when you're talking about a runner, I mean, look, can't even fit 2 fingers side by side in there. Tiny. That's taking up at least 25% of that port, that bump, where that's at. That is just killing it. That's it. There you go. That might be a little better. Look. See the shadow? Alright. Now the air's trying to flow through it this way. It's going to hit that. It's going to hit that, and it's going to want to push that air down. Exhaust doesn't want to go down. Let's go up. Heat rises. Especially when it's being shoved out of a cylinder. I don't know why Ford would even make that way. Now, you're talking a head like this. Going to have about $500 into it. Buy a set of aluminum heads for about $1,000. Unless I can find a used set cheap. But the SVEs, which is what I'd like to actually use, they're about $1,000 to $1,300. I was going to get the CNC ones. I already looked at them. And it's still in my mind to maybe get those. However, I feel that's kind of contradictory to the whole point of the build and what I want to do for you guys, because it's supposed to be a budget thing. Even this is really going against what I wanted to do, because I really wanted to leave this stock. But after learning about the cam, because it's something I just recently found out about the valve spring coil binding on these particular heads, the problem. Kind of puts a little damper on the parade. So, they make a kit for these push-in studs. It's a little roll pin kit. You drill into this boss right here, and you just pop a roll pin in. So that's what I'm going to do. It's like $20 instead of having these machined and putting a good set of studs in it. These are 3/8. For what I'm doing, these will be fine as long as I pin them. Because I would like to be able to rev it past 6,000, not have to worry about the stud flying out of it. However, somebody who really wanted to max effort these, you cut these pockets, you'd mill this pedestal down for the rocker, or the rocker boss, whatever you want to call it, and you take that down and put a screw in a set of studs, tap them for 7/16 thread. Don't have to be drilled and tapped, because right now these are probably a 3/8 hole. It's a 3/8 stud. So that's my assumption. Just common sense. But, that's pretty much the game plan at the moment. So he's going to port these. Got this one all apart. They do have a single spring with a shim. Now when you take a head apart and it has a shim, if it has multiple shims, keep that with the valve that it goes to. This is the intake valve. This is the valve for the shim for the intake valve. If you're using a different set of springs, you might not need the shims. That comes when you check the installed height, comes when you're checking coil bind, all that good stuff. So now I gotta do research. I gotta see if there's a valve spring and how much I can get away without before I gotta cut these. I gotta get a price on cutting these, worst case scenario. And then ported, buy a set of rockers. If I get these cut, I'm probably going to put 1.7 rockers on it. That way that cam's over 500. It's a 480 lift. Steeda, I think the 19 cam. You only make the 18 and the 19. They're pretty much the same lift. I think just the duration might be different. And I think one has a 114 and one's a 115 load separation. Or a center line. So I'll put the 1.7s on that. That brings it around 510, going from a 1.6 to a 1.7. I'm not a big fan of 1.7 rockers. Might even split it. I have the stock 1.6s, so it might be something for me to try. Might even just use those for the time being until I want to buy rockers. I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible. It's one reason why I'm not putting screw in rocker arm studs on it. One reason I really don't want to cut these, because at the end of the day, like I said, they don't have hardened seats, which is a pretty big deal. They're going to eventually pull through the head in time. They look relatively good. Look like they're pressed in there well. I don't see no gaps or anything. Then again, they're not cleaned up. I'm going to relap all the valves. That's why they're all out in a tin. I don't have them marked. That's why there's no markings on the head. If I wasn't going to relap the valves, then all this would be marked and, you know, I'd have to clean them and mark them. But before disassembly, which would suck. But, or you could put tape around it, something like that. But as for this, I'm going to relap them. I'll get some compound and lap them in. And it'll have a fresh, whatever the factory valve job is on this, or if somebody did it at one time, it'll be whatever it is. So they'll just be a ported set of heads with an upgraded valve spring and maybe the pockets machined. It's not going to be nothing too crazy. I think I already mentioned I wanted to go at least 1150s with these done. I think an 1130 to 1110, possibly in the 10s, might do it. It's going to be close if it doesn't go in the 10s on motor. But really, that's what I would like it to do, is go into the 10s. But I think 1150 is a reasonable I think an 1150 is a reasonable goal on motor for this setup. Cam's small, the heads suck even when they're ported. Can they make some power? Probably make over 300 wheel. I mean, that's what we've seen on a couple cars. My car made, I think, it was 320. My buddy John's car made 310, I think. There's no reason why this shouldn't make over 3. To the tire on motor, which is pretty reasonable, especially for a steel-headed engine with factory cast heads. And all those, John's car, steel heads, my car had steel heads to make that power. But that's the game plan at the moment. If these really need, I got to see how much it costs, because if I'm going to end up with like $900 into these, unfortunately I cannot justify spending $900 to just to say it's got steel heads on it. Not when I can just buy SVE, lose 50 pounds off the car, pick up almost 100 CFMs of flow by the time these are done. These will probably flow around 200 maybe. The small valve's really going to hinder that flow number. But, I mean, you're talking SVE, I think is anywhere from 260 to 289, I think it was, from 400 to 600 lift. This max, like I said, 600 lift, 5 to 6 will be about 200. So if I'm going to end up with a lot of money in these, within about a $500 radius, I'm just going to end up buying the aluminum heads, because I can't, for another $500 just to have a way better head that's more dependable. You lose the weight, get the screw-in studs for the rockers, hardened seats in the heads. I mean, a way better flow number. Just no point. At that point, there's no point in running these, unfortunately. So, probably end up selling these if it comes down to that. That way it takes a little bit of that budget away. Like I said, I got to see how much money I got into these, or I'm going to have into these said and done, because I cannot justify putting that much money into them. The E7s were a little different. You know, I was given the valves from a buddy. I paid for the valve job. I paid to have them milled. I think that was about $500 for the milling and the valve job. Good set of rockers, which I need regardless. But I had the springs were given to me for them. Didn't have to worry about cutting pockets. You know, none of that machine work. And I'm even thinking about maybe using an E7, even though it's not something I really want to do. So, that's pretty much it as far as these go. I would like to use these. Like I said, if I can't justify the price tag of what it's going to cost to use them, then they're not going to get used. Tell you what, every time I lift them, makes me really not want to use them. So that being said, on to the next thing. So I'll figure that out, and I'm sure I'll be back with an updated video on what I'm going to do. Leave your opinions, what you guys want to see. Kind of feel like I owe you guys an apology, because I'm taking the car a little further than what I wanted to. But leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And go from there, I guess. Thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Look forward to hearing from you. Catch you guys on the next one.